taking a look at BlackBerry stock, you might want to enter relatively soon. And I'm not saying you need to enter at this price point exactly. There could be still time to enter, but I'm going to explain why you might want to enter soon, why the run up is potentially nearing for a full, like in a way, full throttle. So like if you noticed with this upward trend support line that I've showed it in the past, where we came down, bounced off in December 2020, January 2021, went up to the upside, came back down, bounced off the May 2021 right here, and then went up to the upside and then came back down. We were anticipating to come down and bounce off the upward trend support line right about here for the most part, and then go up to the upside, and then entering here, which would have been the lowest price point, but it did not do that. It broke through the channel, like it got lower than the channel. You can see the channel right here. It came down, bounced off the support, resistance, and then broke through the channel, but it got pulled back up because of AMC and GameStop volume, Wall Street bets, because BlackBerry is part of that, and went up to the upside. Now, the question is it going to continue to the upside, or is it going to come back down, bounce off the support level? If it did, I would highly encourage you entering at this price point, because this, in my opinion, would be the lowest, and then would go back up. But I don't think it's going to come back down to the upward trend support line. If anything, it would come back down to this channel, which I've mentioned is around $9.80. If you want to wait for the $9.50, $9.60 price point, you can, but I think that's highly risky, just because given the patent sale potential for the coming up earnings, which is the end of September. There is a chance it could come up the next earnings, which is the end of December, and I still have to release that video, so I'll explain why, but there's a small chance for that. Most likely it's going to probably come out this earnings, which is the end of September. Now, the reason why I'm stating that you might want to enter relatively soon, again, you don't need to necessarily enter at this price point. You could be a little bit patient if you want to, but I don't know if it's necessarily worth the risk. So if we look at the 1 year chart right here, this is the MACD line. This indicates if it's a bearish or bullish. Right now it is in the positive. It is bullish. It is optimistic. So technically stating that like it's going to be going up to the upside, but I just put this like not too much faith into it. I'd put more faith in the 5 year chart, and this is more of a reason why I'm expecting to potentially have the run up somewhat starting relatively soon. Is the MACD line right here is bearish. It's not optimistic, yes, but it is curving up to the upside. The bar has become a lighter shade of red. It is becoming smaller, but more specifically, like what we've seen in the past, where this was the lowest entry point right here just before the run up, and you could see right here it was still in the bearish movement. It was not optimistic. It was actually even before it curved up, and it was just when the bars became light shaded red and smaller. If you notice that I've stated in the past, becoming light shaded red is a good sign, but it's not the all and be all, because it could become red again, solid red. But when it starts shrinking, that's when it's the best. And technically, I'm starting to think that maybe, even though this upward trend support line is more for the 3 month chart, but in the 5 year chart, if you could almost imagine, even though it doesn't look clean, I could adjust it, I guess. It came down, bounced off support, went up to the upside, came down somewhat, bounced off support, went up to the upside, and we saw a bounce right here. So given all that stuff, nearing the earnings, I'm assuming the volume is going to pick up just because earnings and the patent sale, the whole conglomerate of that stuff, it might be a good time to enter. Now, if you want to be cautious too, one thing too, if you were to enter and you're saying, okay, what's the good exit point if you want to exit just to be safe, I would not encourage exiting at this price point potentially, but if you wanted to do an intelligent exit, you would exit at roughly around somewhere between $14 to $15 price point. Like right now, if it were to spike up, so just to visually show, let's just say it's spiked up just right now, it would hit this downward trend resistance line at $14.38, $14.45. If you want to count for false breakout, $14.50. The problem is though, this downward trend resistance line only has 2 touch points, so it's not a confirmed downward trend resistance line. If it were to spike up and come down, then that would be the 3rd touch point, and then it would be guaranteed an actual downward trend resistance line. So if you want to be cautious, you could. I don't necessarily encourage it just because it's not a guaranteed downward trend resistance line, so we have to wait and see. So it's all on what your risk tolerance is. If you're a long-term investor for BlackBerry stock, you have nothing to worry about. I myself am a long-term investor. I'm not really looking to sell at $14.50, but it depends on when you entered, especially when you entered. If you entered at a higher price point, definitely, I guess it's not worth it, but it's all based on your play, all on your risk tolerance. And by the way, quick disclaimer, like always, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not a professional. Everything I do share with you is just my opinion. It is not advice. So please do your own due diligence and research before buying and selling. That's basically it. Hopefully you like the video. Hopefully you find it helpful. Thanks again for watching. Like always, if you have any questions, do not hesitate to ask. I'll try to answer them as soon as possible. And if you like videos like this or other financial videos, definitely consider subscribing so you can be notified when I do upload those videos. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.